Hey everybody, this is Peter with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to be taking a look at another book from Free League Publishing. They recently sent me a copy of their book, The World of Symbaroum, Lore and Settings of Ambria and Davokar. This is a book for their game line, Runes of Symbaroum, which is a 5th edition translation of their original game, Symbaroum. So they've been doing this a lot lately where they're offering up 5th edition versions of some of their games, trying to reach out there to game masters and players who maybe already know 5th edition, and they're maybe a little hesitant to try out a new game, to have to learn from scratch an entire new game. And so Free League's been mostly pulling in the combat mechanics of 5th edition and dropping it into their worlds. So if you're a game master out there or a player out there who has been utilizing 5th edition, but you're looking for maybe a new world to try out, then this might be something that you're going to be interested in. This is not the core rulebook. We have done a video about the core book for Runes of Symbaroum earlier, so if you want to go into the history of our videos here, video history, you can check out that video. And but for this one, we're going to take the camera down to the table, we're going to open up the book, and we're going to see what is inside of this book. This is not specifically an adventure, but it is a book that is useful for both game masters and players, and I'll explain more about that as we take the camera down to the table and we do a quick flip through the book to see what's inside. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take the camera down to the table and we'll see if this is a book that you might want to have for your table. All right, everybody, so we're down to the table with Runes of Symbaroum, The World of Symbaroum, Lore and Settings of Ambria and Davokar. We're going to go ahead and flip the book over to the back so that we can read the description there and give you a better idea of exactly what is going to be inside the book. Welcome to a world of mystery and adventure, of clashing cultures and ideals, a world constantly under threat from the darkness of the eternal night. This book expands on the lore and setting information presented in the Runes of Symbaroum Game Master's Guide. It delves deep into the ancient history of the game world, and aside from general descriptions of people, places, and historical events, it provides the game master with lots of plot hooks and secrets, along with no less than 7 detailed adventure landscapes centered around ruins in the forest of Davokar. The World of Symbaroum contains a player's section introducing the game world's main settlements, Thistle Hold, Yonderos, and Karvasti, in great detail. An in-depth look at the main settlement's history, memorable events, factions, conflicts, and establishments. A Game Master section describing what hides beneath the surface, with 18 historical secrets and 34 plot hooks. 7 adventure landscapes for characters of 5th to 10th level, complete with conflicts, events, maps, and colorful NPCs. Note that this book requires access to the Runes of Symbaroum core setting books, the Player's Guide, Game Master's Guide, and Bestiary. So we have done videos previously on each of those 3 books, again, the Player's Guide, the Game Master's Guide, and the Bestiary. But this book is specifically for the game master and or players who want to dive more into the setting of Symbaroum. I really appreciate this book because it does something that some games do, but not every game does, and that is give players some information about really where they're coming from so that they can dive deeper into their character's backstory. When you go into an adventure, a lot of the time, you don't know a ton about the world before you sit down and play. This book gives you a lot of great things as a game master to tell your players ahead of time, or just to hand them the book and say, I want you to read these pages. And that's what we're going to go ahead and talk about now. So we're going to open the book up, and we're going to go to the table of contents. You can see that, again, the book, like we said, from the back is broken up into 3 sections. We have the What You See, What Lies Beneath, and Adventuring. What You See is specifically for the players. Obviously, the Game Master is going to want to make themselves aware of this information also, but this is a great section to pull information from to give to your players for them to be reading. If your player is from one of these locations, you are giving them information, stuff that their character would already know from having lived in this town or city or this location. The What Lies Beneath section specifically for the Game Master. So Game Masters are going to read this section and you're going to gain a deeper understanding of the machinations, the locations, the things that have been happening in the world. And like it says, it's giving you wonderful plot hooks, ways to start your adventures. And then adventuring is some very specific, what they call locations, that you're going to be able to then use to challenge your players. These are kind of 1 to 2 shot adventures that you can run for your players at these locations in the Forest of Davokar, which is the main setting of the Ruins of Symbaroum. Let's go ahead and dive in just a little bit so that you can see how the layout is of the sections itself. So right here we get the section on Thistle Hold. So if you have a player from your game who is deciding that their character is coming from Thistle Hold, then you can go through here and give your players this information. You can hand them the book and say, I want you to specifically just read this section about Thistle Hold. There's a portion of narrative fiction here at the very beginning of the section, which we're actually going to read here in just a moment, just to kind of give you a feel for what you're getting for each of these locations. But then it also goes into information for the first impressions of that location, as well as then memorable events. It's giving you in what year these events take place and what those events are. Because again, if your character has been living here for a while, they would know the lore of the land. They would have heard about these specific events, and maybe those were events that were pivotal for your character or for your character's family. And so there are ways for your players to read this to gain inspiration for their role-playing in this world. Beyond just those events, then you get even more specific, an area of that location that you're going to dive even deeper into. And for Thistle Hold, it's this area called the Hunter's Harbor. You get into taverns that are in that location. You're going to have information about some inns, entertainment that is possible, trade, and other things here. You get a nice map of Thistle Hold and where different things are in that area. So I love the idea that they have created a book of lore that you as the game master have now the opportunity to share that lore with your players, giving their player characters more grounding in the world itself, giving your players a little bit more confidence going into it, that they know their character, that they know the world you're running for them, so that their role-playing can be enhanced. I'm going to go ahead, though, and read this little opening narrative fiction here, because I think it is it's a great idea from the authors of this book to start to show you a character in this setting and how they're interacting with the world. Every day for 8 long years, Murdalo has risen from his straw bed, combed his shaggy beard, and walked into the antique plaza. Every day for 8 long years, he has mounted his wooden box to sing the praises of Thistle Hold, and he has smiled in thanks for every shilling, making the bronze cup at his feet sing along. His songs are about successful expeditions to the forest ruins, about the town as a peaceful orchard in a violent world, about women and men who have risen from the deepest misery, all thanks to Thistle Hold. Murdalo was once involved in the construction work, ever since he has watched the town grow and evolve from his lowly stage. The songs have always appeared dishonest, but that never used to bother him, not as long as the audience rewarded his well-sounding lies with equally well-sounding coins. But a gnawing feeling has grown in his chest, stronger and stronger with each passing day. Deep down, Murdalo knows that he is a murderer, just as Mayor Nightpitch and all others who participate in upholding the illusion. For what else should you call someone who convinces people that they can fly, only to silently watch as they dive headlong into the abyss with a hopeful smile on their lips? This is some great narrative fiction that we get from the authors of this book. We get a look at a character who could be an NPC who might show up in your game, this Murdalo, who is obviously someone who is kind of a bard, who is somebody, he's a storyteller, he's a skald, who is sharing these stories of heroicism, and he knows it's a facade. He is trying to uplift, but he's encouraging people to dive into the forest of Davokar, where more than likely they will die. And so I just think that that is a really great bit of fiction for your players to read. And again, maybe they might eventually run into this character as you run them through Thistle Hold. Maybe they're already tied to him in some way. Just a really great way to try to encourage and inspire your players. And again, that is what this whole first section of the book is all about. We get a whole chapter, a whole section here that is all about Thistle Hold. And there are people and there are locations that they're going to be diving into. And you might not want to give them all of it. Maybe as the game master, you decide to go through here and pick and choose the different areas that your player is going to have interacted with. Or maybe you just want to let them read all of it. Totally up to you as the game master, but I think it is, again, a really great idea, and I'm excited by it. Same thing, we get information for Kravasti, which is, again, another location that is used a lot in Runes of Symbaroum as kind of a starting location for a lot of the adventures that could happen in the book. Again, I also love that we get some really nice works of art for these different locations. This specifically is an area for some of the barbarian clans that your players may end up interacting with. So you get images for people, you get images for locations, and it's just tons. It's tons of great information for you and your players. Now that's just the first section of the book. The second section of the book is going to be for game masters specifically. So you're going to be reading through this, not sharing this information with your players, but this is giving you the deeper understanding of what's going on in the world of the Runes of Symbaroum. You get information about the early history, you get information about its past, and you get information about what is currently happening in the world of the Runes of Symbaroum. We're not going to get into all of this stuff because, again, we don't want any big spoilers, but it's just page after page after page of really great information for the game master. And the last section, again, we're not going to dive too much into, just going to flip over here to the opening of it. But the idea is that they want to give you tons of information for running the game, as well as they want to give your players tons of information for role-playing in the game. And they don't stop there. They do what every great role-playing game book should do, which is give you actual adventures to run. These, again, are a bunch of, there's 7 one-shot, maybe 2-shot adventures that you can take your players on. It's going to be broken down really well for you, giving you what is the background of the adventure, the location, the NPCs. It's going to give you some really nice maps and art to utilize here so that you can lay out the game for your players. And again, it is specifically focused on players of 5th to 10th level. So this is not going to be the adventures that you want to start your players with. There are some really good adventures that you can already use for Runes of Symbaroum, but this one is getting your players from 5th to 10th level for you to drop your players into. And that is Runes of Symbaroum, the world of Symbaroum. And this type of book is one that usually, it really excites me because it is all-encompassing. They're focusing not just on the game master who's running the game, but they're doing their level best to inspire the players. Because when you run a role-playing game, you might be the game master, and it doesn't matter how much you are passionate about the game if your players don't care. And a book like this is a way for you to make sure that your players are going to care. You're going to inspire them and entice them to come into this world because you've given them a look behind the scenes of the world that they're about to play in. So I have always found that it is a great idea, obviously, to get your players excited about the game. If you just say, I'm going to run a game, show up and we'll roll some dice, sure, they might show up, but it's going to be tougher. There's going to be a higher bar that they have to cross in order to role play well. So let's go ahead and come back up from the table, and I'll give you just a few more thoughts for me about this book, The World of Symbaroum. All right, so we're back up from the table. We've just taken a quick look at the Runes of Symbaroum, the World of Symbaroum, and as you may have noticed, as I was giving a little flip through, I am actually very impressed with this book. Free League Publishing usually does a great job with their materials. This book really has stood out to me, though, because of that first third of the book. The fact that they've gone to such level of detail to craft a portion of the book for the game master to share with their players. I am always impressed when a book comes out that is well-rounded for the full table, for everyone who's going to be participating. So often I find these books of lore seem to be focusing on specifically the game master, and there's so much weight on the game master's shoulder to bring the world to life. And the fact that Free League Publishing is very specifically saying to the game master, this section of the book is for your players, share it with them, help them to understand the world they're playing in so that they can help you bring the world to life. It encourages role playing, it incentivizes role playing, and it is going to bring the players a level of comfort because they will know more about the world that they're about to play in than if they just sat down at the table and the game master had to bring everything to life. It is even going to encourage them, I think, to come to the game master and say, I would like to explore this more. This is the thing that I am finding interesting, and I think as a player at your table, I would like to dive into it. I would love to see more books for more games specifically like this that are geared towards getting your players into the setting that you want to run for them, to give them that comfortability, to give them that ownership of the game that you are about to run for them. That is why I think this is a great book for you as a game master if you are running or want to run Runes of Symbaroum. I hope to see more books like this for this game and others. The one drawback for this book that I'm going to go ahead and put out there is that all of the adventure settings, that third of the book, is specifically for levels 5 through 10. Now, I understand that those places are supposed to be in the Forest of Davokar, which is an area of the world that is much more dangerous, and maybe you don't want your lower level characters diving quite into the depths of Davokar right away. But the fact that it is a book where everything has to be a little bit of a higher level makes it just a tiny bit of a drawback for me. Maybe you're going to be wanting to run some lower level scenarios first in Thistle Hold and Yandros and Karvosti and all those other places in the book. But the fact that then you're learning a whole lot about them and you get some plot hooks and some stuff, but then all of your settings are more for Davokar. I think it's somewhat disparate, but I am really glad again that there are adventures in the book, that you have a section for the game master and you have this section for the players. So if you have not dived into the World of Symbaroum and you are a 5th edition player, then Runes of Symbaroum is a great opportunity for you to do so. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you understand a little bit better about what you would be getting with this book, because again, that's always my focus for my videos, is that you better understand what it is you're getting before you decide to purchase it. These books are not inexpensive, right? They're usually somewhere around the $50 mark. You might get them a little discounted somewhere for about 40 bucks or so. But for each and every one of us, that is, I think, a lot to ask, and you want to make sure that you're spending your money wisely. So hopefully I've helped you understand what this book is, and if you want to spend that money to bring it to your table to enhance your game. Everybody, thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, maybe give it a like or subscribe to our channel. You can also head over to tabletopgamingguild.com to learn a little bit more about us and the things that we are doing. But don't forget, also head over to freeleaguepublishing.com. I know we do a lot of videos on their games, and that is because they make phenomenal products. They make some of the best starter sets that I've ever seen, the box sets. They make beautiful books, and they make great games. So head on over there, find out about this game and all the other fantastic games that they're making. Thank you so much for watching, and until we talk again, keep on playing games.